We're at Baku City Circuit this weekend, just before the midway point on the season, and we have a title battle developing. Aiden Jackson, Felipe Drugovich, Gary Owen, Lando Norris, and a long shot of Alex Albon.
It certainly is going to be exciting to watch this play out this weekend and moving forward, isn't it, Ted?
Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new episode of F1 23 Driver Career Mode here on the channel. I hope you're all having a great day. It's Azerbaijan Baku City Circuit weekend here as we of course head to this race now a little bit later in the season, a little bit before the midway point now, fresh off of our third win of the season last episode, and for the first time we won at home finally in the Canadian Grand Prix. We had an epic scrap with Lewis Hamilton, you know, in the midway point of that race at the later stages as well, and that gives us some momentum. We were able to close the gap to Aiden Jackson in the championship, who had a bit of a rough day down in 6th place. Drugovich as well, still hanging on well in the championship, but we're really trying to take control of this title fight here, and hopefully we can do that in Azerbaijan. But this is a difficult track sometimes. I've had my ups and downs when it comes to Baku. It's so easy, of course, to, you know, make just a small mistake that really ruins your whole race at this track. There was really no margin for error when it comes to Azerbaijan, so you got to be really careful, but carefully aggressive at the same time, especially in qualifying. As sometimes you go around this circuit, it's a little bit more intimidating than Monaco is, especially through the castle section, but we come through in Q1 and you can see we're gonna cruise right through into Q2, no big issue there. We do have the engine light on. Our gearbox is pretty worn, but we're going to hang on for the rest of the weekend with that gearbox. But we rolled through into Q2 in a bit of an unexpected kind of situation here. We are only in P12 at the end of our first lap, over 0.8 of a second off of getting into Q3, so we have to make a second attempt here, and one attempt left is all we're going to get here based off the time. Of course, the session is now complete, and we were finding some time. We were about 0.3 of improvement, and we would really find through the castle section another few tenths, 5, 6 tenths, nearly 7/10 of a second gain now in towards the little downhill left-hander. We're going to find 0.8, but we needed nearly 0.9, and we're only going to find about 8.5, which means we're out. We're not going to make it to Q3. We are out in Q2 by, look at the margin. Oh my goodness, that is going to sting. About 0.5 tenth off, and I mean, Drugovich barely made it as well, looking like Red Bull Ford just not showing the pace in qualifying. Hopefully, we'll have it in the Grand Prix like we usually do, but there's only one way to find out. We got to go forward. Let's head to the grid on Sunday.
And a warm welcome to you from Azadlik Square, heart of Baku, and home, of course, to the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. With high speeds, tight corners, and few runoff zones, many are expecting a safety car here today. So our drivers will have to stay very much on their toes, and hopefully out of the barriers. The Baku City Circuit measures roughly 6 kilometers, and it's made up of 20 corners and 2 DRS zones. The circuit winds around the narrow city, through the old town, and even brushes against the city's medieval walls. However, as beautiful as the setting is, this track is also a ferocious technical challenge, where the smallest of mistakes could lead to a catastrophic consequence for any one of our drivers. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. Alex Albon leads us away from pole position, and Aiden Jackson completes the front row. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Hamilton, Norris, Verstappen, Drugovich, Leclerc, Russell, Doohan, Mayer, Golden Boy, Oscar Piastri, Gasly, Liam Lawson, Ocon, Yuri Vips, Sonoda, Vesti, Sato, and Zhou Guanyu. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track where preparations are underway. It's race day yet again, and joining me for a chat is Anthony Davidson. And our racers are certainly in for a rough day today. What will you be watching out for as they head into turn 1?
Well, the start of the race is always one of the most nerve-wracking parts. You have to hope that everyone is able to get off to a clean start, and this is possibly the trickiest part of the entire race. So many drivers in such a small space, and finding your braking point into turn 1 as well. It's a testament to the driver's skill that there aren't more incidents.
It was not an easy qualifying session here. As we start P11, you see a huge diverse strategy. Mediums, hard, softs being used all over the grid with the front row McLarens on hards. We're going to be doing the soft to medium strategy as we get ready to roll.
Right then, the formation lap gets underway here on the streets of Baku. I suspect the drivers today will be very mindful of that narrow uphill section at the Old Town Wall. It requires pinpoint accuracy and perhaps more crucially, courage.
Our front row lockout on hards from McLaren Toyota, then the three to follow: Hamilton, Norris, Verstappen on softs as Ferrari again bringing some pace.
We're almost ready to start the race as the cars take their positions on the grid, with the drivers and teams making their final preparations.
Okay, not where we want to start, but I know you can work your way through the field.
Of course, I mean, you got the best driver on the grid right here. Ready to roll then now as we're going to be lining up behind the Connor Sport machine, but it's McLaren Toyota front row. They have really been finding their stride, but they've kind of got like a self-destruct mode, that they've been kind of showcasing this season, and hopefully today is an example of that, so Jackson can't open up the championship lead. We're ready to race here from Baku City Circuit, and it's lights out, we're underway, and it's a poor start from Jack Doohan on the left side. Dragovic stuck behind Norris, who gets a slow start, so we're already alongside our Red Bull Ford teammate on the outside of him. Through turn 1, we'll clear him. Up into P9 we go. From P11, we'll try to go up the inside here of the Connor Sport of Calimere. Through turn 2, side by side, and there we go. That'll be another position gain. As you can see, the McLarens, they get away decently now, as Albon is going to be up towards the front. Hamilton second though, and Jackson has fallen down from that second position into third place. So Hamilton able to split up the McLarens, which could be really important here, but we're going to settle in this 8th position, just behind the Mercedes duo of Lando Norris as well as George Russell. I mean, we're all wondering right now what happened to the speed in the Mercedes. Of course, they ended last season really good. They started this season really good, and they've kind of faded in the recent rounds of this season. We've mentioned that the last few episodes at this point now. Can they find something today? Ferrari showed up with some speed last episode. Hamilton, of course, in the fight for the win, and it looks like they've shown up with some speed here again today, but they've had a lot of reliability issues recently here. Coming to the end of lap 1, you can see the AI when they can just use all that battery. Calimere to my outside, but we're side by side through turn 1 for the lead. Hamilton on the inside, but he's going to settle in for P2. Albon remains in P1 on the exit of turn 2. Sliding, spinning, and crashing is Alex Albon from the lead, and everybody's ghosting. Everyone's going through him, but the virtual safety car is out. We get through it, but that could very well turn into a red flag, or at least a full safety car, and there's the safety car, but hold on, this might in fact turn into a red flag. Let's wait and see on the run towards turn 3. There it is. Red flag is out, and Azerbaijan and Albon is out of the Grand Prix. Oh my goodness, this is not the first time this season. Albon has been the driver that has self-spun the most in the last season of racing here in Formula 1, and a red flag is displayed, which would put us into a medium tire situation. We'll start on mediums, we'll go to mediums later, but my goodness, this race could fall into our hands right here because that's going to boost us up to P7. What a mess. Albon out of the race, and now we're ready to go racing once again. Jackson, Hamilton, 1-2. Now it's going to be lights out again. We're racing. It's a slow start there on the left from Leclerc and Verstappen. Hamilton, Jackson, everybody slow. We have sliced through into the 4th position. This race has really fallen into our hands. In just a couple of laps, we've gone from 11th to now the battle for the top 3. They're wheel to wheel for the lead now, and you see different tire strategies immediately. Jackson's on mediums, Hamilton's on soft, myself and Norris on mediums. Russell faded down to P6 there on the soft tire. Verstappen on the mediums as well. I'm not sure about my teammate of Dragovic. I didn't quite get a look there, but they're still side by side for the lead of this Grand Prix now, as I'm just kind of being patient here. We've got a lot of racing to go, and we're really lucky to be in 4th place on the 4th lap of this Grand Prix. Jackson fades in behind Hamilton, and now Norris is going to put the fight to him. I don't think this is going to work out, though, as he's on the inside. He hops over the curb. I'm going to go into the left side here and try to pass him around the outside of this right-hander, but he's going to really lunge it into the corner. Hold on. We're going to do the switchback. Great racing on this opening lap of the red flag restart. And then to P3 we go from P7, and now we can focus in on trying to run down Aiden Jackson. Hamilton on softs, probably going to drive away for the first 2 to 3 laps until his, tires start to fade a little bit now. But very lucky on the second lap. So the AI, the way EA and Codemasters made the game, it was so silly, so stupid. Basically, the AI will ghost with a lot of contact on lap 1 into lap 2, and that's why we saw Albon and Hamilton ghost together immediately. If that would have happened on lap 3, that would have been a huge incident, and Hamilton would have been collected and others as well. But Albon ended up being the only one crashing because of the ghosting now, which one of the biggest things I despise in this game. It makes no sense, and honestly, I think EA and Codemasters, you should still be embarrassing yourselves for even having your AI not confident enough in your AI that you have to ghost it like that. We continue on. Now to the back of Aiden Jackson, however, in lap 8, and look at the pressure we're putting on the back of the McLaren Toyota, the championship leader, to the right side, down into turn 1, Verstappen within half a second at this point, so I was trying to get on with it. We'll go around the outside after Verstappen moves into 4th, Drugovich into 5th as well. Norris continues to fall down the order. Drugovich is on the softs, and we are quicker than Lewis Hamilton. His softs are starting to fade. Jackson really struggling right now. Not quite sure what's going on with the McLaren Toyota, but Verstappen had enough pace to stick with me, but he was struggling to pass Jackson, so now that was increasing the gap between himself and I, which is perfect for myself here now. But we continue to reel in Lewis Hamilton over the next few laps. Lap 10, here we are, 2.5 seconds behind the Ferrari driver now. As you can see, battles happening behind, starting lap 11. That's a really awkward line, very defensive from Jackson, who left Verstappen no room, so Verstappen will have to stay back in 4th place. And now, we continue to reel in this Ferrari, now just under 2 seconds between myself and Hamilton's shades of last episode in Montreal, where we were running down Lewis, and 2 Ferraris in the top 4, not a sight that we're used to seeing. And the battle continues starting lap 13. Verstappen going around the outside, more contact there. That might do some damage to his front wing. It's hard to tell, but I think that might do at least minor damage for sure. Jackson's struggling with who knows what, but Verstappen might be slow too here in the coming laps now, but he moves into 3rd briefly, but the gap now 7 seconds to Verstappen as we're within DRS range of Lewis Hamilton. Now, we're not going to be able to get him in this lap. We probably won't even get him in the next lap, but we're getting closer and closer. Yellow flags. It's Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton, while leading Baku in his final season, is going to be out here in the Grand Prix. Absolute heartbreak.
Come on, guys. What the man? Unacceptable.
Very short and straight to the point there on the radio from Hamilton. How many times are we going to see Ferrari with one of their drivers with a mechanical issue here? It's absolutely insane. And Verstappen runs in P2 now, and of course we take over the lead of this Grand Prix, but we're 8 seconds in front. We've been gifted a victory here in Baku as long as we just don't do anything stupid. We don't crash the car, we don't get a safety car, etc. Red flag again, all those different things. Starting lap 15, the pit window is open. The gap now 9.5 seconds to Verstappen, who I definitely think has some wing damage, but he's pitting, and so is George Russell and my teammate of Felipe Drugovich, and the Connor Sport as well, I believe, of Calimero coming into the pit lane. So at the end of lap 15, we're going to come in as well, of course, and we're going to be putting on another set of mediums. Obviously, with that red flag being so early, it's really thrown everybody for kind of a loop here when it comes to strategy and whatnot. So Drugovich took his softs. He's doing another set of softs, so I think it's doing like softs all race long, I feel like, at this point now. I can't remember what compound he started on, but nonetheless, we get our mediums on. We're going to come out behind Jackson and Piastri, who have yet to pit, but we're going to be well out in front of them here once they come around to make their pit stops now as we return to the racing surface now as we break way too deep into turn 2. We're going to loop it back around immediately and get it fired up and going, and thank goodness we had a big gap because, yeah, we're going to be able to still be ahead of Verstappen and the cars behind, but just not anywhere near as comfortable. A big mistake from myself, a very uncharacteristic mistake. I don't do that often, but yeah, I just completely, it was more of a, I wasn't paying attention, not that I just made a mistake. It was, I didn't screw up, or I didn't pay attention, and that caused me to screw up. Let's go through the grid here, starting lap 17.
Owen will take the lead as Piastri and Jackson make their stops. Owen's lead was large enough to keep him out front after that last lap mistake.
And Drugovich now into second on fresh, soft tyres. He will be faster than Owen, so do not rule him out quite yet. Verstappen appears to have something going on. Ted, what can you tell us?
He has minor front wing damage that the team did not fix on the pit stop. He's been questioning the call, as you could imagine. Take a listen.
Guys, why the fuck is the same wing on the car? I told you it was damaged.
So Max is third right now, but I think we will see him tumble down the order here. What a disaster for the Ferrari team, who were showing promise again today, guys.
A disaster indeed. We've seen engine failures for both drivers in recent races. Last time out in Canada, we saw Verstappen have a self-spin. And today, a wing issue, and of course, Hamilton's engine expiring.
No one will want to drive for them next year at this rate unless it's a driver for a worse team. I have heard some links between Ferrari and Pierre Gasly recently, so we will have to pay attention to that.
And Gasly having a solid run for Andretti today in 11th, while his teammate Liam Lawson is down in 16th.
A shame that Lawson really hasn't turned into the driver that we had hoped for. He's just another driver on the grid at this point.
What a race here in Baku so far now, and we come towards lap 19 at this point, and through the grid as it was happening, Drugovich had moved into second on the softs and was flying. He passed Verstappen, but everybody's passing Verstappen. Mayer into third, Russell into fourth, but Drugovich just set the fastest lap, back-to-back laps right there, and is only a second and a half, and then 1.3 seconds behind me coming into the later portions of lap 19. Now the fortunate thing is, his softs are going to fade a lot earlier than my mediums are going to fade, so I was trying to just really push to make sure he didn't get within the DRS. That was really what it was all about here. Callie Mayer looking for a podium for the second time in her Formula One career. She got her first podium when we saw both Connor Sports on the podium last season in Qatar, where Jack Doohan was able to pick up the victory, but fortunately for us, Drugovich's softs would fade quite a bit earlier than I actually anticipated, and we were able to kind of just keep the gap comfortably between the 1.5 seconds to 2 second mark at this point now, but it was slowly growing every lap at this point now as we're just increasing the gap. Max Verstappen, lap 23, contact right here into turn 1 with Lando Norris, and a winglet would go flying, and he officially comes into the pits, and that's going to take both Ferraris out of points here today in Azerbaijan. Very unfortunate there. Verstappen had been tumbling down the order with what looked like minor wing damage, but obviously that did him in, and now he's going to fall way backwards now in these closing moments, now over 2 seconds ahead of Drugovich with 2 laps to go here in Baku. The last 10 laps of this Grand Prix, pretty straightforward for myself. It was just about managing the gap, and we were able to do it quite successfully here. 3 wins on the season, looking for 4 as we roll through turn 1 on this final lap. 3 wins is the most of anybody this season, tied at the top between myself and Aiden Jackson. 3 wins apiece for us, but we're trying to take over that throne today as we just have to get through the trickier parts of the circuit one more time through the castle section. There we go, 3 seconds of gap now to Drugovich. Callie Mayer has held off Russell in a late race charge, and she is about 0.6 of a second ahead of Russell and the Mercedes coming to the final moments of this Grand Prix, and it's about to officially become 4 wins on the season. We will absolutely take that. The championship battle is certainly back on, as Jackson is nowhere near the top 5 as we're going to come through to win the Azerbaijan Grand Prix.
What a drive, mate, what a drive. Win number 4, let's go.
Great drive today, Gary. That might put us back on top in the championship.
Awesome stuff, guys. I knew we could do it. I mean, P11 to P1. I mean, what else can you ask for? What a day.
Anthony Davidson, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
I think the key here was just the quality of the racecraft, you know? I mean, how many overtakes did they make overall? I'm sure we have a stat person keeping score somewhere, and it was fantastic to watch, wasn't it? This is a strategic sport at the end of the day, but it's always really gratifying to see close-fought battles on track. It's what all the fans are after.
Now 4 wins on the season. We will absolutely take that here now as we head to the podium. And how about Calimere? Big shout out to Calimere there. We got a Red Bull 1-2 with Drugovich, but Calimere for Connor Sport McLaren on the podium, while we didn't see any of the McLarens actually on the podium there. So what a race to say the least, especially in the first half. The last half was kind of lackluster, but as well the championship, this is going to thrust us into the mix now again, hopefully back on top. But yeah, as well the constructors, a great day for the team. A lot of just positive signs for Red Bull Ford after this event here. Now looking forward, of course, into the next episode, we have the Las Vegas Grand Prix, one of my worst tracks ever, so it's definitely not going to be a win there. We'll see what we can do. Hamilton, Albon, the 2 drivers out of the race. Albon, I mean, he can't take many more of these races because of how bad of a start to the season he had. He continues to make mistakes, and you see we are 1 point ahead of Jackson, 14 ahead of Drugovich, but Albon almost 70 points back at this point. And looking at the constructors, you can see we are 56 points ahead of McLaren, Toyota, and 68 ahead of Mercedes. That's going to wrap it up for me. I'll see you guys next episode at my worst track, Las Vegas Street Circuit. Have a great day.